So about 5 months ago, I've done a full review of the BN800UK food processor from Ninja. 3-in-1 food processor, you've got everything you need. And I was pretty impressed at the time, and I'm pretty impressed to this day. And I'm gonna go through my experience over the past 5 months, and is it still worth buying? I'm gonna leave some affiliate links so you can check them out. You're not gonna get me any reach with this, but you're gonna help the channel to produce more content like this. Now let's get into it, because I wanna show you what's been happening with this over that period of time. There were two things that I was kind of worried about when I done the first review, and are still kind of in place, but the blender is still going. So the first thing was basically the blades, which although they look pretty rigid at the time and very sharp, I wasn't entirely sure whether they will survive very well in time. Another reason why I was concerned is that the spinning wheels underneath this jug or underneath the actual chopper are made of plastic, but it seems to be a very durable plastic that's doing very well in time, or at least it's been doing well till now. Probably you shouldn't really buy a plastic jug, or you shouldn't really go very cheap when it comes to blenders, but this seems to be doing well, or it's been doing well till now. So I'm gonna check quickly, see if there are any leaks that these seals allowed to go through, and if they're not, that means 5 months later we are still happy with the purchase, I guess. So I got here just some water, and let's see if there are any leaks. Five months later, no issues here. Now let's find out if the chopper has any leaks. We'll find out in a minute. Same as with the other one, we're gonna spin it slightly, see if there are any drops coming from underneath. I don't see anything, let me know if you do, but it seems like the seals are still strong. And the first blade I want to talk about, and the one that I use the most during this period of time, is the Pro Extractor blade, which I know it sounds kind of fancy and complicated, but in the end, it's basically the blade that comes with a jug that does smoothies, because that's what I use it primarily. And I think you've done a pretty good job, considering that I use it with frozen berries and all sorts of big chunks of chocolate. I just kind of chuck them in there with milk and just hope for the best. It never really had any issues powering through whatever I was adding there, and this seems to be pretty resistant as well, because that was another thing that I was kind of worried, because adding all those berries, they were hitting into this jug like stones because they were frozen, but it was doing really well at the time, and it's still doing to this day. The sharpness level, I think, is still there and it's still going strong. The blades are still solid, so I think this is nothing to worry about when it comes to this blade. It's gonna go for another year easily, and I'm pretty sure after that, if I decide to replace it, Ninja will give me this option, and probably for an affordable price. And by the way, if you want to check the affiliate links down below, I've got this blender into the description of this video, and you can check it out to see the latest prices. Now the next blade I want to talk about is the stackable blade, which is used with this jug right here. So this is probably the one next in line when it comes to how much I used it. Now, considering that I'm using it only with soups and purees, that's mainly what I use it, at least so far, I think this is gonna do really well in the long run. Plus, this is still sharp, I would say close to 100% of how it looked at the beginning. Now, the next one in line is the chopping blade. This is the one that I probably use it in some pretty rough situations, considering that I like making almond butter, and I do it probably once a month or so, or something like that. It all depends how big of a batch I make and how long it lasts, but once a month. And because these blades are thicker, they are doing really well, even if I use them in pretty intense situations. As I said, with the almond butter, it needs to go on and on and on, and the almonds, as you can imagine, they are not really soft. And apart from that, I've probably done some chopping as well. I can't remember exactly what, like carrots, all sorts of like root vegetables. Those didn't put that much pressure on the blade, but still I use it quite intense. Probably not as much as this or like the other, but still pretty intense, and in a lot more difficult conditions than for the soup or for the puree. Now the one that probably I didn't really use much, just like probably once or twice, is the disc, which, don't get me wrong, is really useful, but I do like some chopping by hand. So if you do just like 1-2 persons meals, then it's not really point, because it's just kind of like more washing than anything else. Although this, by the way, it does really well if you put it directly into the dishwasher. It's coming absolutely sparkling. But the idea is that I've not used this much. It was probably my wife that used it once or twice. It's sharp as new, nothing to say about it. It's useful if you have like a larger amount of cheese, let's say, to grate. If you have like, let's say, more vegetables like carrots to slice, then you could use this side to basically do that. But in my opinion, I'm not gonna use this much. I do like my normal grater that I've got, like basically the hand grater, and I'm using that more than this. It just feels a bit too much effort putting all this together for just, let's say, 2 or 3 carrots, because that's probably the amount I use in most situations. Now, next in line is the dough blade, and don't get me wrong, this is probably useful for many people, but maybe not for me, because I don't really make that much pastry, and even if I do, I think I use it once, but not this actually. I use the normal chopping blade because you can do that easily. It's not that useful for me, but it might be for you, so why not? Now, are there any drawbacks or any reasons why you should avoid these? From my experience, there are not many, and probably the biggest one, if I can even call it an issue, is that it's pretty loud. But this being 1200 watts, as you can imagine, it's pretty powerful, so it will generate quite a lot of noise. If you're not happy with the purchase, you can probably send it back to Amazon, but I am honest about it, and I would say that it's still a good purchase. After 5 months, it's still here, and I'm doing quite a bit of cooking. Actually, I probably used it more than I was expecting, and it's still here, it's still working well. I really hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure you give it a thumbs up and check other videos on my channel, because apart from doing this review, I'm actually doing cooking, so make sure you check it out, and I will see you in the next one.